What's good, guys? Welcome to another episode of my YouTube channel. You know, beside the updates, beside the news, I also like to bring topics that I can get my humble opinion about. And in this case, I would like to speak about the current situation between the US and Colombia, between Gustavo Petro and Donald Trump, and the reasons why Donald Trump called Gustavo Petro basically a Pablo Escobar from Timu. He say without proof that our president, Gustavo Petro, he's leader or he's running similar business like Pablo Escobar was doing back then, and he's the leader of that group. Let's speak about this, and I'm gonna get my humble opinion about all this crazy drama in the country. Fellas, let me clarify that I'm not like a politician. I don't work for the FBI. I don't work for the Colombian police. I don't work for the army, none of that. But I read a lot all the time, every day. I'm trying to read a lot about different things, different news about the world, so I can get myself updated. I like to give you guys the updates, the news on the channel, but I also, like myself to get updated. So, fellas, to understand, what are the reasons that they ending, with all this arguing back and forth between Petro and Donald Trump. We had to go back to a few months ago. Since Donald Trump got into the power, our president and Donald Trump, they never get along. Basically because one is from the right and the other one is from the left. Gustavo Petro, he's from the left in Colombia, and actually it's the first time that we have a president elected by the people, chosen by Colombians, with almost 11 million people that had chosen him. And it's the first time that we have a president from the left. We always have a president from the right, and it seems like things barely work out. You know what I mean? This president that we have now, Gustavo Petro, he ain't the best. He ain't the best. He's not perfect because he's a human. He make a mistake like all the humans, but at least he's fighting for poor people in Colombia, for the rights that they had lost a long time ago in the business at the factories. He's been recovering, all of that. Whether if you like it or not, if you are Colombia or if you are a foreigner who live in Colombia, you know that what I'm saying is the truth. Like I say, I like the president, and that's it. If you don't like it, that's your problem. I'm not here to argue in the comments, none of that. But one of the main, reasons why they got into this problem now is because, like I said, they had never get along, and our president always been like complaining about how Donald Trump, manage a team, manage itself, because at the end of the day, I know it's different countries, but you know, and I know that the United States, if the United States goes back, the world goes back. You know what I mean? They are different countries, Colombia and the States, but they are they have a lot of things in common. They have a lot of business in common. It's not like our culture is the same, but we depend a lot from the United States, and a lot of countries in the world depends from the United States. So our president always been complaining about the way how Donald Trump do stuff, and he think it shouldn't be that way. But at the end of the day, that's his country, and he decide what's best for him and his people. You know what I mean? Whether if it's the poor people in America, whether if it's the rich people in America, that's on him. That's always that I always, criticize about the president. Like, you gotta be quiet, because at the end of the day, you do run a South in Colombia, and people tell you about that, and you're still doing it that way. You know what I mean? I'm not agree with our president on that part, but I also don't agree with Donald Trump calling him, like a Pablo Escobar from Timu, like he was doing the same business that Pablo Escobar was doing back then. Because if you go to Colombian history, you will realize that this is the president that they had caught most kilos of white paintings. And I'm saying that because, I can mention that on YouTube, because YouTube can mark my video, as something offensive. But he's a president with the history, in the Colombian history, that has caught more kill off of the white stuff. You know what I mean? And he's the one, if you look back then when he was, like debating, on the government office, he all the time he's been exposing, like the big fish that work, with the white business in Colombia. You know what I mean? And I don't think, like Donald Trump told think twice, like talk twice about saying this on social media, that calling a president without proof. You at least could have got like some proof from Timu or something, but you don't have no proof to call this man a Pablo Escobar from Timu, because that's not true. That's not true. He don't have nobody's investigating him for that. Nobody's been investigating the president of Colombia for that, to be involved in those type of business. And that's something serious, because this man has been fighting for that in Colombia. And that's also a lack of respect for him and a lack of respect for Colombian people. And he mentioned 18 times Colombia the wrong way. So it seems like this man don't respect our country. You know what I mean? That's a lack of respect for the people here, the judge, the police, the innocent people who's been losing their life, over this fight, about the big fish that work with the white business in Colombia. And I hope you guys understand what I'm meaning when I say the big fish with the white business in Colombia. You know what I mean? That's a lack of respect for all the judge, all the people who've been losing their life, because of this business in Colombia, which is ton of people in town, you know what I mean? And what the president was saying is that he can't chase, like the people, the farmers who plant this white business, because at the end of the day, they are not the big fish. When you take down, the big fish, like our president said last month on Washington, when he said that the big fish with the white business live in Miami, they live in Europe, they live in Dubai, and nobody's is bothering them, because they have money. They have money to run almost everything. You know what I mean? And he wants, apparently, because based on the post that he create, he say, you gotta clean, the farmers who they plan, the white business plan. But at the end of the day, what the president says makes sense, because he said, you got to take down the big fish, because the farmer, they can replace them easy. When you take down a real boss in this game, a real boss, is going to be hard to replace, because nobody can be a boss. Not everybody can be a boss, and especially in those business. Like I mentioned already, not everybody can be a boss, because even in a regular job, if you are the boss, you have a lot of responsibility with your employees. And now thinking about being a manager with those type of business, these situations got really bad when the U.S. Army, which is around the Venezuelan coast and the Colombian coast, that is not a secret that they've been over there for a while, and they waiting to, I think, invade Venezuela or something. I don't know what's going on over there, because I don't know what the purpose is. But what I do know is like the U.S. Army is being accused by the Colombian president of deleting a fish mines that they've been working around that area. The fish mines, they usually work in the night, because my family, there is a lot of members in my family that they are fishermen, and they leave in the morning. They go out, far away from Cartagena in these small boats. Some of them they have big boats, but majority of them they have small boats with big motors, with good motors. So they had to go out and fish, because usually around Cartagena they can't get a lot of fish. They had to go out to get the best fish. So, and a fisherman from Santa Marta, Colombia, which is a city not too far away from Cartagena, fishermen went out to fish, and in the night, this is saying by the president and also by some newspapers in Colombia, that the motor got damaged and they got deleted by U.S. military with a drone. That's what they say. Now, like I said, I don't work for the FBI. I don't work for the Colombian police. I don't work for nobody. I just like to give my humble opinion and bring the updates to the channel. But this is what has been saying on social media, that these people that were just fishermen, and there is no proof for the U.S. Army or the U.S. government to prove that these people that were transporting white business, because they delete them. So there is no proof on the boat, none of that, because they've been deleting a lot of people like that. And I've been reading also that a lot of fishermen now, they are scared to go out, because that's what they do. That's what they do. They had to go out in the night to get the best fish. You know what I mean? And here in Cartagena, if you've been in Cartagena before, there is a lot of islands that are in front of the city, like Terrabomba, Caño del Oro, Boca Chica, and other islands that a lot of locals they've been going back and forth to the island and in the city because that's the only way that they use to go to the city and to get back to the place. It doesn't mean that they transporting team because they navigating because they using the boat in the night. That's something like you're judging people without even proof that that's what they have. And in Colombia, what they do is like they go to the boat, and if they have some, they arrest them, and they will prove that they were transporting some type of business. Also, our president Gustavo Petro say that, and I'm not defending Petro because they both are like very difficult person to deal with, you know what I mean. But one has more power than the other, which is Trump, you know what I mean. And the president also has been expressing that Donald Trump has been feeling some type of way because Colombia didn't help the U.S. to invade Venezuela, to go to Venezuela and fight over there, basically get into like problems with Venezuela. And it don't make sense because a lot of Colombians, we have almost 5 million Colombians that live over there, that they live in Venezuela, that they make business in Venezuela. Cucuta, which is the city in the border, one of the most important city, Cucuta and Macau, two of the most important city at the border, they make a lot of money with Venezuela, and this is also that is something that is kind of affect us, in a short and a long way, because we made money with them. We have a lot of family over there, cousins, uncles. I have a lot of uncles who are from Venezuela. I have a lot of cousins, mostly cousins, that they are Colombians. Their parents are Colombian, but they moved to Venezuela, and that's the reason, what they are Venezuelans. You know what I mean? I'm trying to make sure the microphone is working because yesterday I was trying to post this video, but the sound didn't come out for some reason. I don't know why. Fellas, the current situation is this one. There is a lot of problems between both of our governments, but I hope, this got fixed soon and quick. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, our president was sitting down with the ambassador or person in charge of business from the U.S. in Colombia, and they get along. He get along with the ambassador here, but he don't get along with the president Donald Trump. Long story short, fellas, there is a lot of people who are scared of traveling to Colombia right now because what's going on. And in cities like Medellin and Bogota, if they expel you out because you are male, and some they tell you some because this because our governments they getting about time, all of that, that's a cap. They want to do that because they want to expel you out because the mayor of Medellin and the mayor of Bogota, they don't get along with the president. They barely do what the president say, so they don't obey what the president say. If they tell you that when they expel you out, that's a cap. They just want to blame the president for that because they barely talks. These people don't get along. The mayor of Medellin and the mayor of Bogota, they hate the president. So don't think because they expel you out is because that's just an excuse to blame the president for what's going on in the country, fellas. Like I say, I don't agree with innocent people losing their life because there is a lot of people who've been losing their life because of the white business in Colombia. You don't know how much, like how much better we're doing now than before, because now it was even worse. A lot of people, just police, all these people, they were losing their life because over that, what I mean. And the president is being one of the person who always is being, like taking the max from a lot of people who apparently they are legal, they have legal business, they are like regular businessmen, but they dedicate also to deal with the white business. So for the long time, since this president was young, he's been fighting for that. So I don't think, this president is involved in that. I think Donald Trump has been feeling some type of way because the president didn't help him to, because if you want to invade a country, like Venezuela, of course you will need the help of a country like Colombia, because we just right there, we have a border, so we know we kind of know, like, the easy points how to get there. But the president, what we don't want is a war, because Colombia has been in a war for a while, so we're tired of all of that, fellas. I hope you guys like my video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Thanks for everything. This was Carlos, the Colombian guy. So see you soon, guys, on the next video.